What we will do now, we are going to have an overview about Jupyter Notebook so that we can use it easily in this course or in any other courses. Jupyter Notebook is very important tool, and this, as I said before, this is the tool which people they use in the industry. So learning this tool actually an added value for you, for everyone who want to enter into data science field. The moment we access Jupyter Notebook, we can see here that there are a lot of folders and a lot of files. So what is this? This is in fact a Jupyter Notebook directory. And what is that? I'm going to show you now why we have a lot of folders here. If you will go to your main directory of your PC, okay, you are going to see a similar files and folders. So let us have a look. Let us actually create a new folder here in this directory. So what I will do to create a new folder, I'm going to go to new and I'm going to create a new folder, and let us call this folder Pandas. So how to get that folder? We need to click on last modified, and then after that we are going to see this folder. This is the folder which we have created. If you are going to select it, we can rename it and we will call it Pandas. We will call it Pandas. Now we have created this folder. Let us see if this folder is available here now. So the folder name was Pandas. So this is actually the folder. This is the folder which we have created using or through Jupyter Notebook, and as you can see, it is created here now in our directory. So what is the meaning? All the files and folders available here in this directory is already appearing in Jupyter Notebook. So that means Jupyter is using the same directory. Jupyter Notebook directory is this one. Okay, so we are going to use our main directory in Jupyter Notebook. Whatever files, whatever code we are going to create, it's going to be stored and saved here in this directory. Clear? So all of these files and folders which is appearing here is nothing but actually our directory folders and files. Okay, so now we are going to access Pandas folder and we are going to write Python code inside. So this is actually the folder. I'm now going to start creating the code. So I need to go to new, and then after that I will click on Python 3. So now it's going to prepare Jupyter Notebook so that we can write the code. So this is Jupyter Notebook. This is actually the kernel which is going to allow us to write the code. And as you can see here, I have this place which we call it a cell. This is actually where I'm going to write the code. So if I'm going to write, for example, a equal 10, and then after that print a, how we can execute the code? So this is the code, a very simple code, how we can execute it. To execute this code, either you are going to click on run, or you can execute it by simply clicking shift and enter together. So if you will click shift and enter, you will be able to execute the code available in this cell. Now after we have executed and received the output, we have noticed that a new cell was generated. So what is this? Let us try to write also something. Let us try to say b equal 20 and print p. So I'm getting now the output of this cell. Now the question is, these two cells, do you think they are two different projects or they are related to each other? The answer is they are related to each other. This front end is actually helping us to divide our code into a small portion, but from the back end, whatever we will write in this file is going to be actually one project. So at the end, whatever we are writing is just one project, is just one file. But for our satisfaction, the Jupyter Notebook is allowing us to divide our code into a small portion. What is the meaning of that? That means I can take this line and put it here as well. In this case, the moment I execute, I get both results. So what is happening here in Jupyter Notebook? Jupyter Notebook is allowing us to see after each or couple of lines of the code what is the output or what it is returning, and this is just for our satisfaction. So it's up to you. You can write the full code using one cell, or you can just divide it into multiple cells to see the output after a couple of lines of code. This is going to help you to understand and to see if your code is behaving as per your requirement or not. Now next we are going to see how to create more cells and how to remove and delete some of these cells. So to create more cells, even though after I execute the code a new cell is coming, but I have also the option to create more cells. So I can just click here outside when it is actually highlighted with the blue, because if you have noticed, the moment you click inside to write the code, it is highlighted with the green, but if you click outside, it's highlighted with blue. So the moment you are actually clicking outside, now you have, you know, some options which you can apply, which you cannot apply it if you are inside the cell. If you are outside the cell, there are some options which you can apply, and we are going to explore that. So the first thing we are going to learn is how to add more cell. To add more cell, you just need to click outside the cell. Okay, I just highlighted in a blue color, and then you can click B for book. So as you can see, it has created a new cell, and if I'm going to click again, it's going to be just another cell. So it's actually going to create a cell below. So that's why when I'm clicking P, it is creating a cell below. Now if I want to create a cell above, all what I need to do is to click on whatever cell I want, and then after that I'm going to click A from my keyboard. So now it's going to create a cell above, you know, the previous one. And also I can keep on doing this and adding a cell above our current cell. So this is how to add a cell below and above, and if I want to delete it, I just need to highlight the cell and then press X. So in this case, I can again delete whatever cell which was generated. So this is how to add cell, this is how to remove, this is how to add below, and this is how to add above. And another options which is available, let us assume that I'm going to have a title here. So what we have learned in basics of Python, that we can write a comment in this way, right? But here in Jupyter Notebook, they want to make things more presentable. So what they are offering, they're offering another option. The other option is what we can do the moment we are highlighting the cell with the blue color, we can click, for example, number 1. Now in this case, what I can do is I can just go ahead and write some comment and just execute the cell by just clicking Shift Enter. And as you can see, now we were able to create a comment, and this comment somehow it is more presentable than this way. Okay, this is one of the options. The other options also they are providing is by clicking 2. So if I am going to click 2 and write the same string or the same comment, sorry, so we are going to see that when I am actually using 2, it's actually going to change the font size. It's changing the font size. So how this is going to be helpful? This is going to be helpful because maybe you want to write a title or the name of the section, and then after that you want to write a paragraph. So let us try to see also. If I'm going to create another cell, and let us assume now I'm going to press 3, so it's going to make the font even smaller. Okay, so in this case, as you can see, what I can do, I can use the header 1 as a title for a certain section, and I can use header number 3 or 4 or 5, we have until 6 to use it as a paragraph. So in this case, I'm going to make my Python code a little bit more presentable, plus also at the same time, this will allow me to explain what the cell is doing. So let us assume that I want to explain what this cell is doing. I can just make another cell above, and then I can just click, for example, 3, and I can mention that variable A is holding a value 10, and we are printing this value. So in this case, we are going to make our code readable, our code will be understandable. Let us create a loop. So while true, print OK, for example. So what will happen if I'm going to execute now? It's going to actually give me and execute an infinite loop, a loop which is actually going to run forever. And if you notice here for the cell, I have a star, while for the other cells I have some numbers. So a star means this cell is still busy executing. This cell is still busy executing my code, and my code will never end, as you know. So what we can do is, if I want this to go forever, I can just keep it, or if I want to interrupt it or stop it, what I need to do is I need to click here, so interrupt the kernel. So in this case, it's going to interrupt the execution inside this cell. So this is one of the things also. So the moment you see a star, that means the execution is not yet done inside the cell. So if you want to wait, you can wait, or if you want to interrupt it, you know now how to interrupt. Now another thing also, sometime when you are using Jupyter Notebook, maybe it's going to hang, maybe it's not going to be responsive anymore. So in this case, what you can do, you can just go to kernel and you can just restart or interrupt the kernel. Another thing which is very important, let us assume you have 200 line of code, and if you want to execute it in Jupyter Notebook while it is divided into number of cells, it's going to be a headache, because you need to go to each and every cell and you need to execute in this way, right? Now what happened is Jupyter Notebook is actually providing another way to execute. You don't need to execute each and every cell manually. If you want to execute the whole cell, what you can do is you can just go to kernel and then restart and run all. So in this case, it's going to restart the kernel and it's going to execute all the code available inside the project. Okay, so even if it is divided into multiple cells, it's going to execute everything, as you can see. So next we are going to see how to have a title for our project. So here we have the title for our file. So we can just click on it and say, for example, Jupyter Notebook overview. And then after that, we are going to see, if we will go to our directory, if we will go to Pandas folder, we are going to see that the file was created. And if we have noticed, the extension which is used is actually IPYNP. If you remember in basics of Python, people who attended with me before, we were always saving the file with .py, but here it is IPYNP. So what kind of extensions I can use here for my file? So if you go to file, here you have download as, and download as, you can download as a notebook, means it's going to be in a Jupyter Notebook format, or if you want, you can download it as a .py, or if you want, you can download it as a HTML. So up to you. So you have all of these options available and you can just choose which one you want. By default, it's going to be IPYNP because it is supporting Jupyter Notebook format. The only thing which you need to know, that if you are going to use IPYNP as a file in another environment, it's not going to work. If you want to use your code which was created in Jupyter Notebook in some other environments in the future, what you can do is you can just save it in .py at any point of time. So the moment you finish your project, you feel that you want to use now another environment, you want to transfer your code there, just save your code as a .py. So it's going to be supported by all the other environments. But if you are going to save it only in IPYNP, it's going to work in Jupyter Notebook, but it doesn't work in another environments. The other important thing which is a common mistake by beginners is that if you want to close this file now which you are running, if you want to close this kernel, so some people they click here. So in fact there are multiple ways to close this kernel. The best way is to go to file and then close and halt. Now what will happen if you are going to close it from here? If you are going to close it from here, if you notice Jupyter Notebook, if you notice this icon, it is highlighted on green, while usually it should be highlighted on gray if it is really closed. So what happened is, even though you are closing it here from the browser, but still it is working from the background. So what happened is, let us assume you are running 10 Jupyter Notebook files, and then you are going to close it in this way. You are not going to close it properly. So what happened is, at the background it will always run in your PC. So, and here if you have noticed, you can see that it's showing you that it is still running. So what you can do is, if you want to close it permanently, if you want to free the space which it's actually allocating in your RAM, what you can do is you can just highlight it, and click on shutdown. In this case, what will happen, it's going to shut down this file permanently until you run it again. Or if you want to see all the files which you are running, all the files which you are running currently, you can go to your running, you can go to this section running, and then you will be able to see all Jupyter Notebooks files which is actually running now, whether it is in your background or not. So here we can see that we have one Jupyter Notebook which is not closed properly. So what we can do is we can just click on shutdown. The moment we click on shutdown, if you will go to file now, you're going to see that now the icon beside it, it is actually highlighted on gray color. So this was an introduction about Jupyter Notebook. I hope that you enjoyed this session. Next, we are going to start learning about Pandas. Let's start.